Well, hello everybody. This time I am recording a video which is called introductory video regarding the proficiency exam, the speaking part, which is gonna be helpful for all of you, I hope. And well, let's get started. Okay, as you can see, we do have the main title over here, which says P1 exam, a speaking part, information and tips. So this is basically what the video is gonna be about. And in order to start, we have the standard format of this evaluation or test. And this is absolutely important for you to know that this evaluation implicates two candidates and two examiners, right? One examiner will talk to you and will ask you questions, right? Whereas the other examiner will just watch and take down notes. So you don't have to take into consideration the second examiner because that is only, as this is mentioned here, taking down notes, but you have to be pending or paying attention to the first examiner, the one who's talking to you directly. That is the main one, right? Now, the speaking test consists of three parts that is relevant, okay, for you to know. And it says that during the first part, the interview, right? This is called like that. So this is the interaction between the student and the examiner, right? So even though the evaluation, as it was mentioned before, right, has to do with two participants or two candidates, in this very first part number one, the one of the interview, just you, the student, and the examiner are going to interact. The other candidate is gonna take their turn or his turn, depending, later. Now we have the second part, which says long turn. Here, you're gonna have a photograph, right? And based on that photograph, what you have to do is to describe what you can see in it. Yeah, and this is another part. This is the second part, and you have to do this thing along as well. So you don't need the other candidate to develop this thing. And finally, in the last part number three, the collaborative task. This has to do with a situation which is going to be simulated. And based on that situation and on the picture you are going to be given that I am showing you later on, you will have to, start talking about this thing, like agreeing, disagreeing, and then finally you have to get to an agreement at the very end or to a conclusion when you finish this task. Just in case, I am giving here, I am giving you a hand with a YouTube video. This is the link where you can find more information about this. Yeah. Okay, so let's go through the first part that I told you before. Is called the interview. Over here on the left, you have a picture. In that picture, you have some questions, right? That obviously these are not the questions, I mean the exact questions you are gonna be asked there in the exams day, but these are just examples. For instance, we have what's your name, where do you live, where do you come from, and there could be many more. But this is what you have to take into account. The examiners, right, introduce themselves. This is the first thing they do. And then or after that, one examiner asks you and your partner to say your names and spell them, right? So this is the first thing they do. Don't forget, they introduce themselves and then just one examiner asks you, and not only you, but your partner as well, to say your names and spell them. This examiner then asks you questions about yourself or yourselves, your daily life, your interests, etc. And this is relevant to mention that these kind of questions are called factual or personal nature questions. Yeah. Over here we have another thing. You will be asked questions individually by the examiner. The questions will be about your life, and you may be asked questions about the present. Here you are the tenses, like the present, the past, and future. So what do you have to focus on here? You have to focus on good pronunciation and extending your answers just a little. Well, the recommendations over here is to extend the information just a little, as you can see here. You don't have to speak much because if you exaggerate, this is not going to be beneficial for you, but the opposite. So for example, if the question is, where do you live? Now you say, I live in Ibarra. It's a very nice city to live because it has many places to visit. Yeah, something like that. So you responded the question, we're saying, I live in Ibarra, but after that, you had the chance to extend this thing a little bit. That is important to mention. Okay, now we have the tips, right, that you have to consider when taking this part of the speaking examination. Number one, it only takes 1 minute, right? This is the time per person. And the examiner asks simple questions in turn. And then the second main point is it's quite relevant or important to give full answers. You see, not very short answers. You don't have to be very exaggerated, but you have to try to add more. So you have to give full answers, adding some extra information like reasons, examples where possible. This is a very important point for you to remember, as many candidates forget about this. So their answers become very short and it doesn't sound natural. So that is very important for you to take into account, right? You respond the question, right? So you first of all, you have to try to understand what the examiner is asking you. And then immediately you provide the answer, but you try to extend a little bit the information you gave at the very beginning. And then something else is that another thing that many people often ignore is the body language. Yeah. So when you are speaking, you have to gesticulate, you have to move your hands, you have to, sometimes like smile, which is another one. Try to smile when you are talking to the examiner or your partner. Look at them when you or they are speaking and give them the impression that you are friendly, open, and easy to talk to. So this is tremendously important if you want to get more points, right? So don't forget these tips for what part? The first part, right? Where you have the chance to talk to one of the examiners, and that examiner is asking you some personal questions, okay? Yeah. Now we go through the second part. This part is also called long turn. Why is it called that way? Let me show you the picture for a while, and then I explain the reason why this thing is called that way. Yeah, so here you are the picture on the left. This is just an example, right, of a picture that you can be given in order to describe it. Yeah, so over here, you each, right? Because this is not in pairs, this is individual. You each have a chance or an opportunity to talk by yourselves. So the examiner is not interacting with you, no. So this is the picture you have, and then all the description you can go through regarding this thing. The examiner gives you a color photograph to look at and asks you to talk about it. That is what you have to do. You have to talk about it. Then it says, describe the picture, talk about the people, the place, and other things in the picture. Here you are two ways. Maybe you can find some other ways to start, but you can have this thing at the beginning. You can say, in this picture, I can see, and then you continue, right? Explaining this, that, and stuff. Or maybe you can start saying, this picture shows. And then we have, when you have finished talking, the examiner gives your partner a different photograph to look at and to talk about, right? So don't forget, you get a colorful picture, and then based on this picture, you start describing what you can see, okay? Now we have something else, part 2 tips, and we have this that you have to consider, no? Describe the person or the people in the picture first. That is the first thing you have to do. The person or maybe the people in the picture. You can describe the appearance, what they are doing, the possible feelings and stuff. You have to describe their surroundings, right? And you can ask yourself these questions in advance, right? Not there in the exams day, no, but before. For example, where are they? What objects are around them? Are the people doing anything with the things around them and stuff? It is like going from the center of the picture to the outside. You start with the people who are usually in the middle of the image, and you move to the outside from there. This way, you don't forget any important details. And if you get confused, you have something that can help you remember what to do next. So I am going back for a while in order to explain the last part, which is important, no? So you start from the center to the outside. And when I say to the center, you can start talking about the people first of all. Yeah, then you can maybe describe the food you can see on the table. And after describing everything, then you can continue with the outside, you know, the trees, the forest, the green space and things. So that in that way, you make sure yourself you are not missing anything, but everything you want to describe is there in your description. Okay, so don't forget that part, which is very relevant. And well, now we go through the very last part, which is part number 3. This is called collaborative task. Why collaborative? Because in this section or in this part, you have to interact with the other candidate, right? I mean, your partner. And well, the examiner asks you to talk about something together and gives you a drawing to help you, like the one you can see over here, right? So the examiner is here, the first examiner. The other one is the on the left of the, no, sorry, the right of the first examiner. And then the two candidates are over here, opposite the main one. And well, this is what you get, no? You get a drawing, and based on that drawing, you have to continue doing this thing. You will be given some images and will be asked to interact with your partner. You will need to discuss, make, and respond to suggestions and come to an agreement at the end. This part is essential, don't forget. So first of all, you discuss, right? You make suggestions, you respond to suggestions, and finally you come to an agreement. That is essential. Don't forget to focus on giving your opinions and supporting them with reasons, like because, due to, and things sense, while also responding to your partner's suggestions and opinions. Listen to what your partner says and develop a conversation, right? So that is why it is called a collaborative task, because don't forget you have to interact with the other candidate or with your partner, and you have to cooperate together. This is not just one person speaking and the other one not saying anything. No, but this is together, like saying something, asking something about this thing, and then the other one like responding, right? Maybe in a positive or maybe in a negative way. I mean, agreeing or disagreeing, but yeah, you have to interact together. And well, I have given here an example of a picture, which is quite similar to the ones that you can have in the exams day. So here in the middle, you have the main image, and then you have different activities, right? So here you have to listen attentively to the instructions, right? You have to pay attention to what the examiner is asking you to do. Then you continue discussing ideas together, right? Once you have the picture, then you continue discussing, as I said before, together. Then you have to make and respond to suggestions and negotiate agreement. This is vital. This is essential. Don't forget. Apart from that, you have to listen carefully to what your partner says so you can comment on their ideas. So you see, maybe if you are the one going through this thing first, then you ask something to the other one, then you have to listen carefully to his or her response, right? What for? In order to make a comment on his or her ideas. Then another suggestion that we have here says that you don't have to try to come to a conclusion too quickly. Like, for example, if you start speaking or saying something, the other one responds and then you conclude? No, because remember, you have to talk for about a minute and a half or something, or actually until the examiner says stop or thanks a lot, no more. That is a good idea. And then the last suggestion that I have here says practice vocabulary about giving and asking for opinions, making suggestions, agreeing or disagreeing. This is really, really necessary for you to get a good score in this part of the exam. Now we have the tips that I consider important for you to take into account. Part 3 is the task in which you communicate directly with your partner. The examiner gives you a situation. Don't forget not only the picture, but a situation and then some pictures. You have to use these pictures to discuss the situation with your partner and make a decision. But what is the decision based on? This is based on the examiner's instruction. Yeah, because you don't have to invent the situation. Remember, the situation is given by the examiner. And based on his or her instructions, then you continue with the conversation. Don't forget interacting with your partner. And then you actually finish with a decision that you can take or make, sorry, in this case. Yeah. What else? You have 2 to 3 minutes of talking time, and the examiner will stop when the time is up. That is good to do. Take turns talking and both give an opinion clearly as well as react to what your partner says. Don't forget, this is relevant. Also, discuss the topic until the examiner stops you, which is another important point for you to keep in mind. And well, finally, the last but not the least, teamwork is really the most crucial point in part 3, right? Teamwork. And you should practice how to interact well with your partner before you take the official exam. Okay, so to sum up, I can say that the speaking evaluation is not hard to do or to go through, but what you need to take into account before taking it is to check all the tips I am giving you, and well, the ones you can find online as well, and the information, right? How many minutes, if testing is individual or maybe in pairs, and that something else that you have to pay attention carefully to what the examiner is asking you to do maybe. And then in the very last part, don't forget you have to interact with your partner or with the other candidate in order to get a better score. Okay, so that is basically what you have to do, and I hope it helps you to get a good score. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.